God our Father, I thank you for all the blessings you provide us each and every day. I ask that you guide us in our decision-making for the city, and that you watch over everybody that protects us with law enforcement, fire, and military. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Everybody present, except for the mayor.
Yes.
Just for the record, the mayor was at the dedication. I know some other council members were there, so he's en route.
Okay.
There's no council members there.
No one's there.
Yeah,
I think Bob Moore attended.
No, they're not there now.
right.
All right. The agenda is before you. I know that we need to make a modification to take off number 12. That's going to be brought back to us for RJ's request. Any other modifications?
Hearing no other, Mayor Pro Tem, I move the agenda as modified.
Can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Citizen comments. This is an opportunity for any citizens to comment on anything going on in the city. We have yellow cards up on the table. If you do want to make a comment, please fill one out.
What if you didn't fill one out?
If you didn't fill one out, you can never comment.
Can't talk.
Never. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Pat Dockery, 22213 East Henry Road. Before I get started, I'd like to have Councilmember Dunn read a letter from Melissa Neese, who was in charge of the Barefoot in the Park.
Yeah.
We had some really good experiences there, and I'll expand on that a bit.
So Melissa Neese is a Liberty Lake Kiwanis member and one of the serious organizers of our recent Barefoot in the Park event. She's been just, an epic and a seminal part of the development. Because she wasn't able to attend, she asked to read.
She can't attend because her husband's in getting heart surgery, so it's a
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
but it was real important that she had this observation for the benefit of the council members. She began. I had the pleasure of being one of the organizers for the Liberty Lake Kiwanis yard sale, and just recently the Barefoot in the Park for the past 2 years. I wanted to personally thank the City of Liberty Lake for gracious support. The coordination of resources and departments was flawless for both events. Most people don't realize exactly how much cooperation is needed to put on a large event like these. Between police department, fire department, even this year, the construction superintendent. It took meetings upon meetings, notes, calendaring, and finally the day of the event, implementation. And at the hub of it all is Jennifer Camp and her fabulous team. She was the one checking in at all points and keeping everyone on schedule and planning and processes, allowing and seeking input from Trevor Reagan and Trevor Slocum. Even with her summer staff, she approaches it as a team and encourages input on what they saw for the event and what could be put in place for the following year. And the temporary staff, which have been hired, are stellar. These young people are excited to be at the event, even if they are the one doing the garbage. Helpful beyond words. Just to give you a few examples. It's the end of the event. Everyone's been there for hours. It's hot, and I arrive at the concession stand with a loaded cart. I no sooner did I get the cart stopped than I had 3 staff unloading the cart and putting it away for me. Not part of the job description, and they did it with a smile. And we were setting up for the event. A to Z Rental shows up, and there's 6 staff unloading them and getting it to where it needed to be. I had to laugh to myself because the A to Z guys were in a bit of shock. And then, to wrap this up, one of my vendors on the Sunday after the event was loading his stuff up with 2 staffers, and he completed their tasks with 2 staffers who had completed their task, stopped and helped him to load up. So staffers were helping even the vendor. Mind you, no boss is looking on. My vendor was so thankful and overwhelmed with how respectful, intelligent, patient, and genuinely interested in him that he had to call me the next day and make sure that I was aware of this. Made me smile and really look back on all that the city does for its citizens and service groups. And sometimes we just take that for granted and expect it. Thus, this letter to say thank you. Jen and her staff know that all the interactions that they have are a representation of the city of Liberty Lake, and they've been representing you with honor. And please, please know you can be extremely proud of the leadership they are receiving. Again, thank you. It was noticed and appreciated. Melissa Neese.
Thanks, Dan.
Mr. Jeff and your staff.
Congratulations.
Just a brief note, the money that we raise at these events gets all put back into the community. I just gave a check to the brand-new Liberty Creek PTO organization to help them print some t-shirts. We gave them $500 to go towards that. And we discussed at our couple of meetings ago, we'd like to do a staff lunch for everybody. It started out being a lunch for the park staff, but then we said, no, we'll invite everybody. So council members and all the staff, a week from tomorrow, we're going to start at 11 at the park. So we will hope to all see you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Phil.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Perfect, thank you. In keeping with a recent resolution, my name is Phil Follier. I'm a resident of Liberty Lake. Isn't that what passed last 2 weeks ago?
You're good, man.
Thank you. I'd like to respond to some comments made at the last council meeting regarding my failed appointment to the Planning Commission by the mayor. I'm a little perplexed by the reasons given by some and would like to discuss them. I'd like to reference Liberty Lake Ordinance number 75 and number 175, which refers to the Planning Commission bylaws. Paragraph C-1, membership qualifications. The membership of the Planning Commission shall consist of individuals who have an interest in planning, land use, transportation, capital infrastructure, building, and landscape design, as evidenced by training, experience, and interest in the city. Given my career as a home builder, I have a unique interest in the above qualifications, because I work with citizens to make them homeowners while providing good jobs to others. My experience as a past president of the Spokane Home Builders Association demonstrates my experience and interest in these qualifications. I have experience working with zoning, comprehensive plans, development codes, other topics that commonly come before planning commissions. I've been in the construction industry now for 30 years. Paragraph C-3A. Number and members of terms. The planning commission shall consist of 7 members. At least 5 shall reside in the city of Liberty Lake. This section says nothing about which neighborhood a member resides from as being an issue or a concern regarding qualifications. Paragraph C-3-E. Conflicts of interest. Members of the Planning Commission shall fully comply with the Code of Ethics for municipal officers, appearance of fairness, and such other rules and regulations as may be adopted from time to time by the City Council, regulating the conduct of any person holding appointive office within the city. No elected official or city employee may be a member of the Planning Commission. Okay, that makes good sense. Code of Conduct, paragraph 11. A commission member shall disqualify himself or herself from participating in a hearing whenever bias, interest, or other influences will prevent or appear to prevent him or her from exercising fair-minded, independent judgment on the facts and the established policy by the City Council. Code of Conduct, paragraph 12. Disqualifying influences include prejudgment of the issues that cannot be swayed by the facts and evidence, a partiality or personal bias for or against a party, a personal financial interest in the subject matter. Examples of disqualifying bias include close personal, family, or business relationship with a party, ownership of property, the value of which might be affected by the decision, and a business or personal financial situation that might be affected by the decision. Code of Conduct, paragraph 13. Should a commission member be aware of circumstances which might appear to disqualify him or her, he or she can either disqualify themselves or explain the circumstances before the hearing and let the rest of the commission, by majority vote, decide whether he or she participates. Should the commission be aware of circumstances which might appear to disqualify a member, the commission may, by majority vote, disqualify the member for that discussion. Makes totally good sense. So as you can see, we currently have laws that exist through the Liberty Lake Municipal Code to govern conflicts of interest. It's not uncommon for professionals in the related fields to be members of planning commissions. A builder will have a unique perspective to complement the existing members. I'm looking to use my knowledge and expertise to give back to the citizens of Liberty Lake. Having a diversity of views on the planning commission is a benefit to Liberty Lake citizens. In the case of professional conflicts of interest, it would be expected that you would recuse yourself, as the Code of Conduct alludes to. I assume that the City Council members have similar Code of Conduct laws for conflicts of interest. I assume at some point, during some random discussion, everyone in this room could have a conflict of interest representing the city or their neighborhood. The ones that have the best interest of the city at heart understand that and are quick to disclose any conflict of interest, as I would as well. I feel my experience and previous leadership in the housing industry, my 21 years of military background, and my 17 years of residency in this town, Liberty Lake, are the reasons I asked for a voting position on the Planning Commission. I've been a voice for Legacy Ridge on some issues, yes. I would do the same for the city of Liberty Lake. Anyone that knows who I am would agree. Just to be clear, none of what was said 2 weeks ago was taken personally. None of what I say tonight should be taken personally. I simply want you to know who I am and my motivation to get involved. Given my background, yes, I'm disappointed that the council chose not to approve my appointment by the mayor 2 weeks ago. 4 of you made a decision without, I feel, not knowing much of any of my background. The only request for an interview came from the mayor. I can't help but wonder if there's other issues at play. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Any other citizen comments? We'll have another opportunity as we get toward the end. Would you like to do now?
Is this for non-agendized items, sir?
Yeah, it's for anything.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, and honored citizens of the city of Liberty Lake. Happy to be here with the staff. As I was walking up, I said this should be painless, but I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be painless. And I think it's going to be something that this city may or may not have done, but I think it's no time like the present to do it. Recently, hate came back to America, and a slice of it visited the city of Liberty Lake. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, it doesn't matter. What matters is that it's visiting our wonderful city. And so, as I think about everything I do in life and where I'm going to go when the next chapter happens, I'm always preparing for what the Almighty is going to say to me when I get there. Did you do everything you could have done? What I would like to do as a citizen of this city is propose that the city, its government, and its citizens do a hands across Liberty Lake. That hands across Liberty Lake would involve each and every citizen who either lives in Liberty Lake, works in Liberty Lake, plays in Liberty Lake, loves Liberty Lake, or likes to come to visit Liberty Lake. In the hands across Liberty Lake, it would start at the City Hall, because that's where our voices are most important. That's where the impact that we should make as citizens happen. That's where we hope our voices are heard. And it should cross the entire city of Liberty Lake region. One hand in another, in another,
in another. And perhaps an aerial view of that coming together can be witnessed by our news folks, by everyone in the city. We must engage in something like that now to solidify our promise to each other that we believe that we all matter, each one of us, regardless of where we've moved from, where we've been born, and where we choose to stay or to die. I am only here because I believe the good Lord said, DG, I've got a job for you. You've got to head north. You've got to go to Liberty Lake. Why Liberty Lake? Because right now Liberty Lake thinks it's immune from the hate that could visit our shores in a bigger way than it visited recently. Please join me in asking this council, our voice, to let's make it happen. Let's figure out when. Let's figure out how. Let's get t-shirts. Let's pay for them. I'll pay for them, for goodness sakes. Let's do it. Let's show the county region and the state of Washington that Liberty Lake is not bought and sold on ideologies of the past, of wars that were lost, of ideas that perhaps we're going to hold until we die, but we are not the product of our history. We are the product of our future moving forward. Without that, we have nothing. Nothing but our homes and the few neighbors and our grocery stores and our golf carts and ourselves. We become islands. Let's be a bigger island. I'd ask all of you in here today who is not on the council, but certainly the council can raise their hand too. If you think Hands Across Liberty Lake is due, it's time for it, then please, if you're asked by our government, say yes. Not just to the dress, but say yes to the idea. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Dee Dee.
Any other comments? Any other citizen comments? Not here to move on. And business policy, what are we talking about? Oh, first, float Spokane.
Look, Spokane.
Float Spokane.
It's a little bit more formal than I'm used to, so I apologize. Can I hand these?
Yes, if you want to hand this to me, I'll just do it. Thank you so much.
Okay. And I've definitely never spoken to one of these, so. Weird. I didn't make all the time in my grades. Anyway, I thought I would start out with, in exposing who we are and kind of the reason why we chose Liberty Lake. We're not from here. We're from Washington, but we're not from Liberty Lake. We grew up in Brewster, Washington. My husband and I are both ex-athletes. He was a professional athlete and I was collegiate. So getting older was tough for us, and the training that we did, and we had 4 kids and trying to keep up with them. My husband had an opportunity to try floating. So anyway, I don't know if anybody heard of Float Spokane. I don't know if anybody here heard of it? Yeah? A couple people? Anybody tried it? No? Not one person? Anyway, so my husband had the opportunity to go to Seattle and try it out at Urban Float in Kirkland, which now there are 6 urban floats in the Seattle area. And at the time, he got hit as a line drive as a pitcher. He got hit in the side of the head and has issues with migraines, and he gets these floaties in front of his eyes. So he went and tried it out because one of his buddies said, "You need to try this." And when he got out, he could see further down the road. I know it's weird, it sounds weird, but for somebody who, like him, who's a skeptic and didn't want to try anything new, it was huge for him. And of course, I went later and been doing a lot of running and had a lot of swelling in my knee, and got out and it's completely gone. Now you would think that now that we float, we would do more training, we do more relaxing, I think, training. But floating is kind of an acquired taste. Since we've been open in Liberty Lake since September 2015. So, and I know a lot of people are like, what? I didn't even know you're here. And we picked that building because we are from a small town, and we've lived in Queens, we've lived in LA, we've lived in Japan, we've lived everywhere. And we drove into the wellness center and thought, oh, I can relax. Someplace where we can go that's not hectic, it's right off the freeway, it's easy to get to. That's what had a huge light bulb over our head when we came here. It's been a little hard getting people used to something. So, people think of it as sensory deprivation, you close a lid on you, you can't breathe. Well, that's not the case. And I will explain a little bit more about that. But that's why we chose Liberty Lake. It felt calming right when we drove into the parking lot. And it was a lot different than the hectic. And now we have 2 locations. We have one at Northtown, and that one's crazy. I prefer here. It's a lot more peaceful. So we jumped into Float Spokane with the idea of helping people in all walks of life naturally. I'm not saying it's the cure-all. And since we've been open, we have seen people with bone cancer walk out and stop at my front desk and say, I have never been without pain in years. We have had a guy who lives in Otis Orchard who lost partial vision from an IUD from a bomb. And he walks with his CNI dog to come float. He has PTSD, but he also has physical, ailments that he's in pain a lot. For instance, about 6 months ago, I got a phone call, and the first thing the guy on the phone says, what is float? And I said, I'm Jennifer, who are you? And he went on to say, I have this client, he lives out in Otis Orchards, and he told me, I said, oh yeah, I know exactly who it is, because he came to our establishment because I let all veterans float for free on Veterans Day, and that's when it started, in 2015, yeah, in November 2015. And anyway, I guess he went to work out at the Complete Athlete and was unable to finish. And he left, came back 4 hours later, and did all the exercises. And since September or November of 2015, he is now training for a games that he could do for the military. So I have seen all kinds, Crohn's disease, fibromyalgia, just stressed out parents, students who need an hour by themselves with no computer, no phone, and nobody calling them on the telephone. So I will tell you what, each one of these pods on the back, you'll see my husband's actually in there. He's 6'3", so he makes it look a little small, but they're 10 feet long and 8 feet wide. We have had football players from the Spokane Empire, MMA fighters that are good size that fit in there. And each one is filled with about 200 gallons of body temperature water, but it hits me right about here. So it's about 12 inches deep and 1,100 pounds of Epsom salt. So you float. It's like the Dead Sea, but the water to salt ratio is 25% higher in our pods than in the Dead Sea. So if you haven't ever floated, like in the lake with a life jacket, you'll float in this. So don't worry about not floating. And everybody knows the benefits of Epsom salt. My grandma used to tell me whatever ailed me, headache, scratch, that would burn, but it helped it. Let's see, I have an example. Do I have enough time? Another story?
A few more minutes, yeah.
Okay, well, my dad's a cattle rancher, and I grew up in a really small town, and we vaccinated our cows, and he was throwing something, and someone was standing behind him with a needle, and it went all the way through the palm of his hand. And he worked all day because he's stubborn, and then he went to the vet and not the doctor. And the vet told him, come back here. And I have a bowl of warm water, and he put Epsom salt in there. And I don't know if you guys have ever put your hand in there when you have a cut in water, how it kind of pools. It doesn't really, it just kind of stays in one little spot. Well, when he put it in the Epsom salt, it came out in a long stream because it pulled the toxins out of his body. It never got infected, it never turned red. That's his hand in a small amount of Epsom salt. You can imagine what it can do for your entire body in 1,100 pounds.
Jennifer, can you tell everyone where your business is located?
Sorry, Liberty Lane, or 1334 North Whitman Lane in the 160B suite, right next to E-District Physical Therapy, Whispering Massage, in the Health and Wellness building right there.
Thank
You
you.
can see it from the freeway.
Yeah.
How long does one session last?
An hour. It goes by fast. We have a guy, he works at Altech, he's the vice president over here, and he has to go 90, because it takes him 30 minutes to shut off his brain for all he has going on. But we recommend an hour, because it takes a good time to settle your mind, stop thinking. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So, presentations, oh, here we are. Right there. So we have Pendergast. Where's my I got dressed up for this occasion. Welcome to brand new school. Give me your name. All right. This is called Timothy Creek. All right. Anyway, Mike started with the library as a volunteer. Would be 2006 or so, 2000. Years and years ago, right? So, and was given almost 5 hours every week. Right? So the math would tell you that it's contributed over 3,120 hours volunteer. He's a handyman. So he's built shelves and modified them and hung posters and did all of that spatial beautification. His military experiences brought him to space planning, and so he was able to lay out the library in CAD, correct? So that we could see where the bookshelves and all that stuff should go, right? And he's helped with the check-in, the inventory, organizing the CIM loan shipments, etc. You know, and I think his sense of humor and his willingness to tackle these jobs has made him a very, very valuable volunteer, but also somebody that we're going to be truly missing. Hopefully he'll just come back and visit periodically. So, as you may remember, our library started by volunteers. You know, the committee went out and scoured the community for books, and we started as a volunteer organization. You just exemplify people at the beginning, especially Bud Kramer was standing here right now, he'd say, you know, you are the heart and soul of our community, so thank you for being a volunteer. Thank you for your service. So thank you again. I appreciate it.
And if I may, I'm fortunate enough to live next to Mike, and his volunteer aspects of the library lead out into the community. When we have snowfall, Mike's the first one out there to help shovel neighbors' driveways. You know, if somebody's, including myself, has an ailment or a surgery, he's the first one to volunteer to help mow your lawn. So, thank you, Mike.
Amanda, you're up.
Keith, can you catch the lights right on the wall? Thank you.
Mayor, members of the council. So, Liberty Lake's growing. I think we can all tell that. Over the past year, we actually ranked number 6 in the Washington State for population increases. And actually, if you look at the list, the majority of the cities ahead of us are very small. So increasing by 20 people makes them rank. So really, we're probably in the top 3. Population growth is on track with planning, though. And projects are reviewed to ensure adopted levels of service are maintained. So every time an application comes in, we thoroughly go through it to make sure we have adequate transportation facilities, everything associated. Our infrastructure will support the growth. Our capital facilities plan, our transportation improvement plan, and our capital improvement plan that you do with your annual budget all address the infrastructure that's needed, and we plan for it in advance. So Liberty Lake has had significant housing and employment growth, but it is planned growth, the infrastructure appropriately timed to support it. So the city is experiencing growth, but it's right on track with planning. The green line shown on here, right there, is our historical growth with a 6.8% average annual growth rate from 2001 to 2015. The red line, down here, is our historical growth with a 3% average annual growth rate from 2010 to 2015. And the blue line is our city land quantity analysis from the comprehensive plan update, calculating a planned 3.15% average annual growth rate for the projection. The hatched orange is where our population is currently tracking. If we continue to track at a slightly faster rate, we will hit build out a little sooner. Spokane County as a whole experienced an 11% population increase over the past 10 years. Statewide, there was a population increase of 15% this year, with net migration or people moving here from other areas being the largest factor. Also statewide, the level of housing growth actually remains below the prior decade, and 52% of all new housing units were associated with multifamily structures. So the type of growth you're seeing here is consistent with what we're seeing statewide. So going into our mid-year report, our permitting activity continues to align with the regional growth. Our commercial growth continues to increase. You see the new structures going in, Fujiyama and some of the others out here. Single-family growth is in the River District. 54% is in the River District, with the remaining south of I-90. $44 million plus is what we've added in valuation over the past year. And the permitting revenue for 2017 already exceeds the budgeted on all of our categories. Again, Liberty Lake has had significant housing and employment growth, but it's planned growth with the infrastructure appropriately timed to support it. So I had to show off a little bit of Zach's work with our new permit track software here. So our new software allows us to track specific permit types and totals for easier reporting. This is an example of one of the available reports. Total permits issued through June continues to increase each year. The new commercial projects were the fire station, the McKinsey 3 building, and the Liberty Lake Winery. Country Vista Retail, you'll see on the next one. That one was actually permitted in July. They sat on Route 1. So on the zoning and subdivision side, the 2016-2017 mid-year activity increase is predominantly in home occupation reviews, with a 275% increase this year. For mid-year 2017, 61% of the zoning and subdivision revenue has been from building permit reviews, and 39% has been from land use permits, land divisions, etc. We budget very conservatively, and as of July 31st, we've already exceeded our 2017 budget revenue for planning activities as well. The majority of our single-family growth, as I stated, is in the River District at 54%, and that's shown in the dark blue here, with the other half being the 46% south of I-90 in our other existing neighborhoods. Specialty housing, or senior housing, is split between Trutina, Stonehill, and Guardian Angels, pretty equally. Stonehill and Legacy Villas are currently the only multifamily projects, with Legacy Villas obviously being the majority, shown in a light blue, and it's by far the largest.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Under the Stonehill, is that the condos there?
There's actually well, yes. So I just want to make sure I clarify it. The portion at the far west end of Stonehill, that's the single story, off of Pinnacle Court, those are the age targeted. The condos that are bringing in the 10% are the 6 units that are the vertical just across Pinnacle.
Right, so they're owned condos there?
They are owned condos, yeah. As I stated in the little summary at the beginning, total valuation is over $44 million, with half coming from commercial and multifamily projects. You can see how it's divided out there on the rest of it. The over $700,000 of total permit fees paid includes all building permit and site plan reviews, commercial plan check, harbor road mitigation, SBCC, and miscellaneous project reimbursements, with the majority paid in second quarter of 2017. So all those reviews we were conducting last fall, beginning of winter, they're starting to be picked up, and the permit revenue continues to come in. So in closing here, our population growth is on track with planning, as I stated. Projects are reviewed to ensure adopted levels of service are maintained. Infrastructure will support growth. Our permitting activity aligns with the regional growth. Commercial growth continues to increase. Single-family growth is predominantly in the River District. We've had $44 million plus in added valuation, and permitting revenue for 2017 exceeds the budgeted. The City of Liberty Lake continues to be a great place to live, work, and play. Are there any questions on our mid-year report?
So $702,000 in total fees paid, that's awesome. Can you give us a kind of a high-level view of what that money goes to?
So it goes into the general fund. We're not an enterprise system here. General fund, obviously, I believe the majority, RJ, pays for the police. Is that correct? I defer to our finance guy on this one.
No, it goes, the amendment's correct, it goes into the general fund, and it gets to the between services on there. We try to, I think we try to be a little bit strategic when it comes to looking at one-time items, because that's one-time revenue generated. So I think one of the things we looked at last year, buying the uplands, looking at different revenue sources that are exceeding expectations.
But there's obviously costs associated with the activities that you do, Amanda.
Yes.
That's kind of what I was getting at. So what kind of things are we doing to earn some of this $702,000?
So what our staff does is currently we have two inspectors. One of them does residential plan review as well. The other does commercial plan review, and you have to be certified in the commercial, so we only have one commercial plans examiner. And then as was budgeted for 2017, we currently have a temporary inspector that's helping out in the office and in the field. And then in addition, Zach is our permit technician. He does all the processing, and I, as a city planner, do the land use reviews both on the building permit side and on the land division, etc. side. Part of our service is we offer free pre-application conferences, and we highly encourage them, pretty much mandate them, because it makes the application processes go smoother on all different types of projects. Once you're through a pre-application, we get you through the application process as quick as possible. We handle public notice, SEPA, depending on what type of project it is. And then once that permit finally gets out the door, one of our guys is out there doing the inspections on it. We do send a few things out to Fire District to review now with the large volume of permits we've been having. But we see the project all the way through to issuance of certificate of occupancy. And then the other thing that we do, and we're, I believe, one of the few jurisdictions that's actually doing this, we exceed the Washington State public records requirements. We maintain all of our single-family residential on file. So if you're buying a house in Liberty Lake and you want to see what the inspection records are on it, as long as it was permitted through the city, I can't speak for the records we inherited, but we maintain everything on file so that you see how your house was built and how it inspected out. And it takes up a lot of room, and I know Ann would love to have us get rid of some of that, but we do maintain that as a public service as well. And
I want-
I was going to say, between Zach and I, we handle the public records.
So on that 702,000, you're commenting on 244,000 of that was Harbor Road mitigation funds, right?
Yeah, correct.
So that
includes
number,
all
that
funds, yeah.
portion of the revenue that you're responding to is set aside specifically for transportation improvement projects.
Yes, and the amount budgeted just in building permits was $425,000, and plan checking was $50,000, zoning and subdivision was $25,000.
Thanks.
So hopefully that.
And Amanda, if I could add just a few, I know there's other costs like code enforcement, and I believe also long-range planning when we hired Greg Doran to help us, long-range
For
planning.
the most part, long-range planning is not, we have virtually no way of recovering that unless somebody makes an application. So all those updates we just went through, that all was going out, nothing coming in on it. And then, yes, Dennis is our sixth, did I count right? The sixth staff member that handles code enforcement on our end. And if you're interested in seeing kind of the volumes of what the guys are doing, Zach, our permit reporting guru, actually just put together a brand new review and inspection report, and we'd be happy to share that with you as well.
Yes, I mean, I just want to compliment on an excellent report. As you all know, I've long been an advocate of proactive planning and not management and not reactionary planning and management. And I'm glad that we're doing some proactive planning. Also, I just wanted to mention that in early May, I met with Bear Peterson and Katie Allen specifically about developing a strategic long-term plan for the city. This is another segment of that, because at that meeting I mentioned to the mayor that a lot of the components or segments of that plan we already have. This is another segment that we already have. We just have to put it all together, work with the council and the mayor and the staff in developing a strategic long-term plan, and then communicating that plan to the community so that everybody is on board with what's going on and what our plans are. This past week I had an opportunity on social media to comment concerning strategic long-term planning. And people from the school board commented how important it was to them on meeting their goals and objectives. And other people commented that it would be a great thing if the city had a strategic long-term plan. So I'd like to encourage us to utilize this information and other information and proceed with strategic long-term planning for the city. Thank you very much.
And that actually perfectly leads into something you'll be seeing coming up with your budgeting. A couple years ago, we updated our capital facilities plan with all the changes we've had and stuff that Andrew's keeping up with on the transportation end. We are this year again going through a capital facilities plan update, and I've just started the draft on that, and I'm currently reaching out to other agencies to get their capital facilities plans in, so we make sure we're looking at consistent planning across the board for our infrastructure and everything. And so you will be seeing that come forward to you in the next probably beginning of October, I believe it is. It'll come in with the budget. And that is one of the tools for strategic planning on planning out for our infrastructure. So.
Very good. Thank you, Amanda.
Amanda, I'm looking at your permit fees slide. The title is Permit Fees Paid Through June 2017. Thank you. I'm looking particularly at new commercial at 53%.
Yes.
Is that 53%, is that indicative of a larger fee paid by commercial, or is it more activity?
It is a little bit of both. So the new commercial that's on there includes multifamily, because commercial is multifamily as far as how it's classified in the building code. And so we have had significant multifamily increase over the past year with the Legacy Villas project, but we've also continued to increase on our commercial. So in short, it is both on there. We bring in more fees on the larger projects. We also have more activity associated with reviews on them. And with the fees come, of course, the additional permit activity that you see out in the field. So.
Just two quick questions. Your presentation indicates that the growth has been planned for and is moving forward according to that plan. Has any conclusion been reached about how many and what size apartment complexes or multi-living facilities we can hold in the city?
Yes. So when we updated the city comprehensive plan 2 years ago to plan out for our next 20 years, we did a land quantity analysis update as part of that. And what we did is we went through and analyzed all our zones, what had remaining area to build in, what didn't, and then including the mixed use zone. We have to make some assumption, of course, in mixed use, and I believe the assumption was 30 to 40% would go to some type of mixed use development. We're getting pretty close to that, and those are, of course, assumptions. Based on that and the River District SAP that we have a given on what that's going to have, the Stonehill SAP that we know, plus our R1 zone, we're planning out for a build out right now of right around 25,000 people in the city of Liberty Lake. can that occur in 20 years, can be 30 years? It depends on how our growth continues, like I showed on the chart. If we continue to grow just a little bit faster, we'll build out faster. If it slows back down, like it did from 2010 to about 2013, then we'll hit it out, maybe in 40 years. But I continue to track that every time we get our population updates in June of every year.
Thank you. And the last question is, we have a relatively small unit that's handling all this, and that works with you. Who is being cross-trained to assume your responsibilities should you become sick, have another interest, etc.? Who's there to assist and learn from our building inspectors and to supplement their work as well should one of them become disabled?
So right now, we do have our temporary inspector, Scott, and we've been trying to cross-train him as quick as we can get him up to speed on that. He did suffer an accident, so he hasn't been able to be out in the field for the past couple of months, which actually benefited our cross-training on the predict technician side. So Wayne and Rudy stepped up and have really been hitting the field hard for us, and Scott's been cross-training with Zach right now on the permit technician side. Rudy is certified to do everything Wayne is on the inspection side. He's just not certified on the plans examiner side. And both my guys are working towards building official designation so that they both will be able to do that. The planning side is a little more difficult. I am the only city planner. So as much as Zach can take on, I'm trying to cross-train him a bit with his background and interest in planning. Right now, Zach is handling sign permit reviews for me. Help me out here, Zach. I know I'm going to forget something. I haven't hit you with project permits yet. They're pretty scary.
Reviews.
Yeah, landscape reviews and inspections. Zach's going out and hitting for me. So as quick as I can, I'm trying to get Zach up to speed. But I am the only city planner right now.
Thank you for your time. Good job.
Thanks.
Amanda, could you jump down to the evaluation slide, summarizing the 44 million?
That one?
Yeah. 60%, almost 2/3, it looks like new commercial, includes multifamily, I think you said, as part of that. Can you recount as a percentage what multifamily is within that commercial segment? Sorry to put you on the spot.
I was going to say, if anybody can, Zach would probably be better at than I am.
No, it's out of my head now. I have it somewhere.
That's okay.
Let's see here. There's.
Too small for
Yeah, if it's on that
But we have
example chart.
new multifamily projects or buildings. Yeah, it's all blurred and it's so small.
Is it roughly about half, Zach? Something tells me about half. We can get that number back to you.
It's, no, multifamily would be about 2/3 really.
About 2/3?
Yeah,
Yeah.
looking at the lines, I can't read the numbers, they got blurred.
Do you want a hard number back to
You
you?
probably
no,
read it
that's
there,
okay.
actually, if you go to the other side. Go to the counts,
Or example graph?
yeah. Right there in the bottom corner, you have new multifamily and then the new commercial.
Highlight with your laser, what are you referring to, Amanda?
So right
It's,
there.
yeah, there.
So those are unit counts. Do we have a valuation on this one?
Yeah, so new multifamily, there was 8 in the first quarter, 3 in the second quarter, and then new commercial, there was only actually
So, yeah.
3 buildings.
So about 2/3, yeah.
Those are counts of activities. I'm more interested in the valuation component. Flip back to that valuation slide. Remind me of how you attribute valuation in the permitting process. One more back to the pie chart or valuations.
That one, okay. So when an application comes in, the adopted fee schedule says we review it to the ICC building valuation data chart. And that's updated as needed, can be twice a year, depending on what the ICC does. And so basically like the stock market setting rates and stuff, we do it through ICC for our building valuation data. Then we compare to that chart what the square footage and use of the project is. Wayne or Rudy goes through and calculates out the fee based on those criteria, and that's how the valuation is attributed to the project.
Gotcha. So the valuation represents the value of the, I guess I'd say the commercial, the value of the project at its conclusion, perhaps
Yes.
is a good way to put it.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, obviously, a home with an unfinished basement isn't valued as high as a home with a completely finished basement, for example.
Got it. The only observation I'd have in considering this carefully is, as I look at it in percentages, with the description that approximately half of what's referred to as new commercial, I would say 3/4 of the valuations of what has been permitted is for residential activity.
Yeah, in total, with single family, yes.
Yeah, and that as an action, I'm trying to carefully weigh with the utility of commercial development, which I say true commercial development.
Yeah.
So I guess personally, I perceive a need to try and balance residential development with commercial development, and it just seems like, particularly in the valuation function, a significant amount of what is being permitted is actually residential activity, rather than, we'll say, trade and commerce related commercial construction.
Our commercial is continuing to increase, though, as we noted on that slide right there. From 15, 16, and 17, we continue to grow on the commercial side.
Yeah.
And so we had the 3 in the first half of the year. Like I said, the Country Vista retail, and then associated tenant improvements and those kinds of things. We'll also be having more projects, I can't disclose yet, coming in over the next probably 6 months to a year. And there are multiples on the horizon that we're looking at. So that's something I want to address you while I'm up here on the budgeting end of things. If our revenues look like they exceed at mid-year, it's because when it comes to the commercial projects, if we've had a pre-application but we do not have a guaranteed application date, because things can change, I do not count it. We budget very conservatively, and so the pre-apps we've had right now, unless they're saying we are definitely bringing it in January 1st or January 2nd and everything is going that direction, I'm very hesitant to count until we actually have things through the door. So.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah. Anything else?
Thanks, Amanda. Finance Committee?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the Finance Committee met tonight. Councilmembers Kaminskas, Brickner, RJ, and myself. We discussed the 2017 monthly dashboard. Good news on sales tax is up about $200,000 year to date. If it continues trending, it'll be about $400,000 in additional to the budget for the 2017 year. So wonderful news there. We very briefly discussed finance policy updates and investments in particular, but it's probably going to be a little bit of an ongoing project. We discussed the 2018 budgets and revenue sources. In particular, there's a webinar tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. in the small conference room on property taxes. We did voucher review, and I believe, I don't know if you want to do it now, but the final payment of the golf course, we've got a note to be shredded tonight. I think we actually put that where we want to do it on the agenda. It's in the agenda. And, so great news there.
It's under action items.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can't get that part out.
How much are we paying on that note?
$14,000 a month.
$14,097 a month. Or $14,097 a month. Right here.
Thank you.
Plus interest. Or that includes interest. So, other council issues, not hearing, I'm going to have.
Actually, yeah. We had the lunch for the staff of the city. Great turnout, both on the council side as well as the staff side. Great event overall. And one of the things that we discussed during finance as well, which Katie I think is going to touch upon, there was a request by city council members to put together some ideas and cost into the field by the elementary school that's remaining. Katie, I believe on September 5th, you're going to touch on those, so we can look forward to that.
Okay. Chief, Fire District, any comments? Engines are all polished and stuff, ready to go. The fire station's looking good down there. Really looking good. Nani, anything from the sewer district?
You know, did anybody comment at a previous meeting on the drinking water quality report?
I'll talk about that just really quickly. So every year the district does, they test all the wells and test all the water. I think you have 120 different tests, different samples from the water. So you always wonder, how safe is the drinking water? So this is the report that comes out. It's actually on the district's website. And most of the things that we tested for, different parameters, all came back no constituents detected, so they didn't find anything. There's a couple of inorganic chemicals that are, some of them just natural deposits as the water goes through the aquifer, it picks up little pieces of inorganic things like minerals and things, some of that. And they're all far below the MCL, or the MCL is the maximum contaminant level. So if it's above that, then you have a problem, you gotta go to the Department of Health. And I'll tell you what this, just really quickly, it says MCLs are set at very stringent levels to understand the possible health effects described from the many regulated constituents. A person would have to drink 2 liters of water every day at the MCL level for a lifetime to have a 1 in a million chance of having the described health effect. So that's pretty low. That's pretty stringent, I think. So even at those very stringent levels, nothing came close. So rest assured, the water is very safe here in Liberty Lake. So yes, very cool.
Thank you. Just one thing, the new elementary school is now open. They had a ceremony tonight at from 6 to 7. They're welcoming staff, or welcoming commissioning the new school. It was a big picture. They provided a small thing for a couple of us. So anyway, it's wide open. Liberty Lake Creek. I was reminded that the first classes will be 2028, 2029, and 2030. Anyway, Katie?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I want to put up a slide, and Pamela's going to come up and talk about the eclipse on August 21st, and I want to rest assured we know that Liberty Lake is not in charge of the eclipse, but our phone is ringing off the hook with the eclipse, and Pamela's going to tell you a little bit about what the library is doing next Monday, August 21st. But in the meantime, as Pamela walks up, I wanted to show you this picture because I had my grandkids over the weekend, and there's no amount of toys that can cover for just a good old box dressed up like a car. And there's a whole, and it's hard to see, so RJ's going to turn the thing off. But this was in our library. They decorated boxes. We saved our boxes here at City Hall. They decorated them like cars, and so the name of this photo is Liberty Lake Drives. So I want to share that with you. And now Pamela's going to talk about the eclipse.
So what they're actually looking at is a movie.
Yes.
Okay, a drive-in movie.
Yeah, drive-in. So it was a toddler drive-in, and we even got to, there was a Facebook questionnaire asking which movie they had 2 or 3 choices, and that was the one I think that must have won. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. The parents had as much fun as the kids as they made their little cars, and it was another one of Janie's wonderful programs. But I'm here to talk about the eclipse, and to assure you that I'm not in charge of the eclipse. It's going to happen whether I want it to or not, and whenever I feel about it. So, this has become a phenomenon, and our phone has been ringing off the hook for weeks now about it. And I'm sure you've probably known, if you have tried to find eclipse glasses, they are becoming as rare as hen's teeth. So we have been getting lots and lots of calls about them at the library. It's for us at the library, it started out with a letter from the state library saying that they had procured a large number of eclipse glasses, and the public libraries like to have some. And so they were able to give 50 glasses to 50 or actually 75 to each library that requested them free. And so we had some free glasses to start with. And then the hype started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we had more and more inquiries. Now, what we are doing at the library, Jandy had a story time on this past Monday on the eclipse. Then this Wednesday, tomorrow, there's going to be a craft about the eclipse. I think they're going to put together the good old clips with the sun and the moon and how they all line up, so the kids get an idea what the eclipse is about. And at those two events, we are going to be handing out the glasses that we have. We went out and bought a few more, hoping that we would have enough, and now we're not even sure we're going to have enough for those two programs. So we know the library no longer has any glasses. They're all spoken for from our programs. Now, then we will be having a program at Rocky Hill Park on Monday at about 10:30. Janie will be there a little bit early. She will be positioned at the pavilion part of the Rocky Hill. And on the picnic tables there, she's going to be having another small craft and also supplies to build the more traditional eclipse viewers, the good old pinhole in a box version where you don't look at the sun at all. It goes through a pinhole that you hold up behind you, and then the image is reflected on a piece of paper or something in the back. She told me something about making with Ritz crackers. This is going to be really interesting. So come just to see that. I can't wait. So that's going to be happening at 10:30, so anybody and everybody can come. This is certainly not a registered event. So if you'd like to be there with the library and see what's going to happen.
I do mean 9:30, Pamela, because the eclipse is at 10.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you mean 9:30?
Yeah, she's going to be there.
Yeah, it'll be before the eclipse.
So, yes, she'll be there. There'll be stuff to do, pinhole viewers to make, and everybody bring their glasses if they want them. And we'll all watch the eclipse and some stories we read together.
When did you say the events are to the other events beforehand?
I'm sorry?
When did you say the other events are beforehand?
Oh, the making of the things, well, before it starts.
No, I'm sorry, if somebody wants to get the glasses still.
Oh, the only event left is an eclipse craft class on tomorrow at 10:30.
May I see those glasses?
Pamela, who do you have in charge of the weather, so it's not cloudy?
We're not in charge of that.
Oh, now, come on, George.
Pam, I'm sure you're telling people and letting them know, just as your glasses are marked with the ISO marking, to look for that marking prior to use,
Yes.
to make sure that they are qualified to be used for that event.
Right, that is very important, the ISO, this is a little thing here, or sometimes they'll say NASA. It is very important to use the proper equipment. And even these, you must use them correctly. You can't be looking up and then do this. You just have to start down here and bring it up.
Not just the symbol itself, but the shape of the glasses and the piece that goes around your ear, because there are a lot being sold on Amazon that are fake.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Amazon's had to be all.
He got
Can I
some.
say something on that?
Yeah, Nada got
I
some.
just throw something, just as someone who's got my $150 cheap cardboard glasses coming tomorrow by FedEx. We bought some on Amazon as a reputable dealer, and they were the ISO CE certified ones, and Amazon said they were okay. And Amazon couldn't get the manufacturer to verify that they were actually the real one.
Yeah.
So they sent us a letter and said, these aren't any good, we're gonna give you a full refund, but you're sort of out of luck.
Yeah.
And so we were scrambling around trying to get more. So even if they say ISO and CE on them, be sure that they're from a reputable source. Because anybody can print that on a piece of cardboard.
I
Don't
believe
stare at
there's
the
a
sun.
I believe there's a published list out there somewhere of the approved manufacturers. I couldn't tell you how to get there. I know KXLY did a piece on it last week, and they had a link. I know Spokane Eye Clinic was giving some out. I think they were out and getting more in, but there is an official list of the approved manufacturers, because it's easy to print that on there, whether they've been through their certification or not.
So last week on the Liberty Library's Facebook page, I did post 2 separate videos published by 2 separate reputable organizations that talk about safely using these, the other means that you can safely outfit your binoculars and cameras, very detailed, and also several methods of making that pinhole, the old-fashioned pinhole viewer, and other ways of doing this safely. So if you're looking for more information, please just go to the library's Facebook page. It's not, I'm going to repost it tomorrow on the top so that you'll be able to find those 2 videos very easily and then play them. I would highly recommend that all parents would either look look at them, or ours, or that we posted, or something like that, to make sure that their children are viewing this eclipse safely and themselves.
Thank you, Pam.
Okay, moving along, Jen's going to give us a quick update on, and a wrap-up of Barefoot in the Park.
So I just have a few photos to share for those of you who couldn't make the event. Barefoot 2017 has come and gone, and we're going to take a break for a month or two and then move on to planning for Barefoot on March 2018. We had an amazing amount of contributors this year, and so far in the 2 years that we've done this, the amount of coordinators has grown, and I foresee it growing again next year by at least 2 groups. So this list is going to be very long, hopefully. Which is great. It eases a lot of the stress and work and coordination off of the city and allows us to become the backbone and the support for this event, which is where we're very good at doing. Kiwanis, thank you so much. They did a lot of the organizing between dogs this year. We introduced a lot of dogs. Barefoot went to the dogs this year. It was a hit. So we foresee them returning. Splash jumped in and helped us with a lot of advertising. They did a lot of formatting of the logos and all of the publishing. The Hub obviously took on a huge role as replacing William Miller with the Barefoot soccer and organizing the DJ. City staff organized the family fun and obviously staffing and facility support. And Popular Companions, Maura stepped up this year and was amazing, handling all business vendor connections, organizing business vendors, setting them up. She was amazing. I'm really hoping she returns next year. And then FOPP, responsible for the live music. So you can see that the blend of all of this was really awesome in orchestrating this event. So I just was going to share a few photos. We had a magician this year. You can see him up there behind the fan. We have the band. You can see it was very smoky. We had several people comment on social media that they didn't attend because of the smoke. We had a Higher Ground Sanctuary come and do an animal adoption, so they were a huge hit this year. I'm still waiting to see how she did. But instead of just having animals to show, she actually offered adoptions at the event itself. We had Post Falls Police Department K-9 do a demonstration, and then the Family Fun down here from the city out in the big soccer fields. DJ up in the DJ booth, again, smoke. Can't emphasize that enough. The Funky Sun, that's from the smoke. Vendor Alley was a hit this year. It really helped tie the event back together between the soccer and then the goings-on down around the parking lot area. And then down at the bottom is the soccer event. And more dogs. The dogs were a huge hit. So up at the top we had Intermountain Search and Rescue dogs. Actually the top picture, middle left and middle right are Intermountain Search and Rescue. They did an amazing demonstration. It was really, really cool. They look cute and cuddly and are super friendly to go up and pet them, but to see them in action was, it was incredible. And so they were really excited to come back next year, so we're sure to have them back. And then at the top right is the Dog Agility. Thank you, Dan, for hooking us up with them. They were fantastic. They did 2 demonstrations during the day, and they also hope to come back. And that was a last-minute pull to get them there, and they were a great fit and a great fill for the event. And then down at the bottom, we had a 6-foot giant soccer ball until it got flattened. But that was a huge hit while it was up and inflated. So, yeah, thank you so much for your support. It was a great event. And do anybody have any questions?
Thank you for all your work.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Okay, so now the next part of our my report is RJ's going to give us an update on videotaping council meetings. So we have a schedule for doing that work.
So we are slowly getting closer to getting the video camera up in here. It's going to be a video camera that's going to be interactive for the person watching it, so they can move just kind of like 360 degrees. They can move whatever they want to watch through the camera. Before we get that thing going live, which we're going to target October 17th. We want to have a couple dry runs and kind of tell council how they want to maybe position themselves or speak in the mic or see how they look on the camera on there as well. And we also have upgrade a computer in here to help run that system by itself. So it should be a free running system. We're not, well, we can talk about doing YouTube live or not, before that time, but I think we're out the gate, we'll probably just tape it, see how it looks, and then post it on there. Currently, we do post the audio is going on to YouTube. So you can, we've been doing that since June. So basically it's a picture, and we might get a little bit better pictures, but you can hear the audio from that.
Questions?
Thank you, Sergeant.
Okay, so our famous project that's been going on since June is getting in the home stretch, thank goodness. We're down to the last couple weeks. Going to give you a quick update. There's been some, as I mentioned last time, some more utility work that had to be done, hence the kind of the low spot in the intersections. I'm not going to go through all the day-by-day activity, but the final paving will be August 31st, and it will be the intersection of Apple Way and Liberty Lake Road, the complete intersection, and then striping will happen September 1st. That's the Friday before Labor Day, and then the road opens. The road might be open before that, but then we still have that one stretch of pavement to do. But I just have to say that, you know, this contractor and the crews have been out there managing the dust, managing the traffic. I know people get frustrated when you're there on the weekend or early in the morning or late at night and you have to sit and wait for the whole cycle. But again, we're trying to do the best we can to keep everyone safe and the project moving forward. If you've been down there lately, I try to avoid it, but if we go down there, you'll see the streetlights are up in the middle of the road. Those are LEDs, and so some of the irrigation and the vegetations will be going in shortly. So we're in the home stretch. I think I counted about 10 days left, Andrew. Is that about right? Something like that.
Pretty close.
Okay, so the last thing, just it's been mentioned before, and I see the mayor has his T-shirt on, and Councilmember Moore and Councilmember Kaminskis were up there, and I think there might have been others. Anyway, you were all introduced at the dedication of the new school. We did, and we are working, and I don't want to take any credit for this, but I know our police department's played a key role in Andrew in coordinating their parking plan up there, and then Chief Asmus is going to work with the school district to have some of our officers present the first couple weeks of school, in the morning and in the afternoon as cars come and go. So that part, another reason why I bring it up is just the continuation of a great partnership with Central Valley School District. Mayor, that concludes my report.
Perfect. For action items.
All right, move action item consent agenda 1 to approve August 1st, 2017 city council minutes.
Second.
Second. Further discussion, not hearing, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There we go.
Mayor, move consent agenda number 2 to approve August 15th, 2017 vouchers in the amount of $950,820.75.
Second.
Further second, further discussion, not hearing, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, there we go.
And that will include the shredding of the note for trailhead.
Right here. Where's the shredder? Right there?
Right at the end of the, right next to me.
There it is, over there.
Right next to me.
Shredder. Oh, this is the official shredder. Take a picture of that. Yeah, the name on the back of that. We finally paid those off.
Yeah,
Well, Stanley will be proud of this. Anyway, this is officially, we made our last payment with that approval of the
Vouchers.
vouchers. So that check is, I think, already in the mail.
It's gone.
This one. So, this is, what did we pay, $2.4 million?
Total project was 2.6, there was $800,000 bond, and then $1.8 million note, which is on there.
Yeah, I think we spent $200,000 remodel or something like that. So, anyway, it's a great asset for the city, and this note to Rieger is paid off. I tried to renegotiate it back when I first came in. You didn't want to give up 4.75% interest when everybody's getting 0.75. So, goodbye. See ya.
Mayor, I move general business 1 to approve interlocal agreement with Spokane County for the Pavilion Park irrigation upgrades.
Second.
Moved and seconded, further discussion.
Question?
Odin?
Katie, I'm looking at some of the surplus materials that came with that, and the title is Pavilion Park Irrigation Improvements. It lists options with the sewer and water district, a city well, and interlocal. The cost for sewer, if we went with the sewer, was $406,000 plus or minus. And is that just the initial build?
That is we assumed our consumption similar to Rocky Hill. So it's roughly, for a 30-year period, we came up with $400,000. And I know Nod is here, and I don't know that he's familiar with this particular contract, but it's up on the board right here. So we calculated our 30-year cost to connect to the water and sewer district. And we know that regionally we have very good rates, but you're paying for all the water even if there's a leak, and we've estimated our bill from the water district over that 30-year period to be $406,000, plus the infrastructure, the meter, the connection fee, and I think they have a facility charge as well that has been calculated into it. And there is not a tiered rate at the water district for irrigation.
Sure. So are the city well items B and item C, the interlocal, are they figured the same way over a 30-year projection?
Yeah, this whole matrix is based on a 30-year.
So then I would assume that under the interlocal, the 30-year includes what the rates would be as well as the initial construction.
It includes the connection, and it includes a sharing of the maintenance cost of the new pump that's installed that's ours. And we had to make some assumptions on maintenance costs, but the $280,000 would be for the 30-year cost for that intertie. And I just want to be really clear, what this does not include is the on-site irrigation upgrades at Pavilion Park. This is just the connection that's running from the driving range lake to Pavilion Park and the pump associated with that.
Okay, just so I'm clear though, this does not include buying the water.
Yes, it does include buying the water. There is no
It
charge
does.
for the water.
That's
There
what.
is no.
So we're comparing apples to apples all the way
Correct.
through both.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Well job. Good job.
Yes, I have a question. Was $406,000 for the Liberty Lake Sewer and Water District, is that a fixed amount, non-negotiable with the Water District?
Andrew's going to correct me if I'm wrong. It is, their rates are set by, are reviewed and set, and they do not have an irrigation rate, nor were we able to negotiate a discounted rate, because their rates, they have to offer to everybody in the district, and they don't offer an irrigation rate. So this is we use this based on the consumption of water. So this would be your water bill. The $406,000 is your water bill. And just as a point of reference, every year at Rocky Hill, we pay $10,000 to $11,000 a year for Rocky Hill water bill. And it's we have a little more turf at Pavilion Park. Plus you have the cost of the facility charge and the meter.
And this is also on today's.
Correct. We didn't escalate any of these costs. They were all made with the same assumptions. Councilmember Moore, am I answering your question? So this is based on consumption. So if you have a leak and it goes through the meter, you're going to pay for the water that you consume. So this is your water bill and your connection charges.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I will, just kind of a point of reference, the splash pad has a connection to the water and sewer district, and the restrooms and the drinking fountain come from the sewer and water district. So we do have a water bill, but we don't use their water for our irrigation.
Further discussion? Not hearing, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mayor, I move general business 2 to approve purchase pedestrian crossing beacons and speed signs for Country Vista.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Not hearing, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There we go. We're at the second read ordinance, Andrew.
City of Liberty Lake, Spokane County, Washington, ordinance number 244. An ordinance of the City of Liberty Lake, Washington, adding Chapter 2 to Title 9 of the City of Liberty Lake Municipal Code entitled Public Safety Street Naming and Physical Addressing Standards.
Motion,
I move ordinance number 244.
Second.
moved and seconded. Further discussion?
I just have a quick question. So, truly an interesting read going through that. What kind of expense and time frame do you think is going to be involved with being in compliance with this?
For the most part, with participating in the task force, there really isn't anything in this that we're not already doing. There are a few properties we may have to go back and reassign. One of them, I think I gave the example at CDC, we have Madsen, all within the same segments. That's one of them for public safety standpoint we're probably going to need to address. There's just a handful like that. Most of them we've actually addressed over the years. When we inherited an address issue from the county, we tried to take care of it. I think there's a Malvern Circle that also sticks out in my mind. That was when we inherited. But there's just a handful that we might have to go back through and correct. As far as assigning new addresses, I've already been assigning them this way for at least the past about a year and a half, 2 years.
Potential impact on businesses? Are you expected at this point?
No, Madsen is the only business one I can think of. Am I forgetting anything, Zach?
Meadowood Tech, they have their address.
Yeah, but they have the approach off Mission now, so I think they're okay. Yeah, Meadowood Tech would have been one, but they have the dual approaches off Mission.
I was just curious, because
Yeah.
for businesses, that can get very expensive.
Yeah, and I did word it that we have the ability to, doesn't mean we have to enact upon it, and I spoke with some of the other jurisdictions like Deer Park. They're not planning on being overly active on that part. So, yeah.
Man, as long as you're taking questions, just a quick one. Under the assessor's office, the scout program, scout mapping service,
Yes, Scott, yes.
will that affect this, and or how long would it take them to catch up with any changes that we make?
So whenever an address is changed or assigned, we actually go in and either do it ourselves and input it into the Scout database, or we send it to them to map on like a brand new plat because we don't have a parcel to do it. So again, they're already doing this. This is just making sure we're doing it consistently throughout the county.
Thank you.
Okay, further discussion? Not hearing any, all in favor, raise your right hand. Oh, hang on for a second. Citizen comments, any citizen comments on this? Not hearing any, I'll call the question. All in favor of ordinance 244, raise your right hand. I count 7 out of 7, correct? Everybody voting for it? Yes, it's adopted. Introduction of upcoming agenda items, Kate.
So very quickly, we do have a couple presentations on September 5th. One is council priorities from 2017. I'm going to give you guys some feedback on everything that we accomplished, and it's a lot of work, so I'm really, I think, proud of our staff that has worked really hard this past year in getting a lot of those priorities taken care of. The other thing is something that Councilmember Brickner mentioned, is we do have back from the consultant is options for what we call the North Field. That's what Jen calls it, so we call it the North Field. That's the field north of Liberty Creek Elementary. So we have some options, and we have costs associated with those options. And there isn't anything that says you have to choose one or that you have to approve it. But our goal is that if you look at all of them and you decide you want to move forward, then we could put that in the budget. If you decide not to move forward with it, there's nothing that says we have to build it next year. But I know there's a lot of questions about what's happening on the property north of the elementary school. So I want to make sure you have some of those options laid out in front of you well before the budget. And then on the, let's see what else we have here. We do have a consultant agreement on Trailhead, is that correct? Okay, so we're out. We submitted for RF requests for proposals from experts that design irrigation systems such as Trailhead, and so the staff will be interviewing those folks and we'll bring forward a contract. Our goal here is to get someone to price out the irrigation work at Trailhead, so we have these numbers before the budget so that we can make informed decisions when we actually put things in the budget for Trailhead's irrigation system. And I don't need to reiterate it, but Jen knows how often we have leaks down there, and it's a constant I'll say challenge to repair the main line off and on all summer long. So it's been a challenge.
Quick question, Katie. Under tentative items number 6, there's a question mark after adding the, adopting the comprehensive plan amendment. Are we still shooting for the 19th? Because there's a lot of people in the community asking when that's going to be.
So I had a call into Lance Douglas, Mr. Douglas, and I asked him, so we put this date down, council member. I don't know that he's pushing for the second read anytime soon. For right now, this is a date, it's a holding. Right now, we are not, so this is the date we put in to hold it, but we haven't definitely decided to bring it back on this day.
So what does his opinion matter on when we talk about this? He doesn't get a vote.
The second read, I mean, we can bring it back whenever you and the mayor desire to put on the agenda.
I mean, I don't see why his participation is needed. It's going through the process. It's up to the council to discuss and vote on putting the change through or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd
So-
like to see it sooner than later. We've got citizens out there who are concerned and want to know what the final decision's going to be.
Mayor, did you,
I don't care.
okay, so
18th is fine.
The
I mean,
19th, September
Whatever our
19th.
council meeting, normally have Labor Day is the first Tuesday.
the 5th is, and the 14th would be the
It's
19th.
Labor Day
yeah.
weekend, right?
It is, this is the second, actually, it's the second council meeting of September.
Yes, so the 18th is second council meeting in September, right? That's why we had it.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Okay.
I didn't want to give the impression that he was driving the boat here. I was asking him if it was okay if we put it on the 19th. He said that was fine. That's how it ended up here. Sometimes he could ask for a deferral, as could any other property owner down there. But right now, we put the 19th on the agenda.
And that's because he's the one who requested the change.
So actually, he had a project, as you know, and in order for the planning commission looked at it over 18 months. And then with Greg Doran's review, we came forward with a solution that we put out as an option that was endorsed by the planning commission.
Right, but I guess my question is, why would the developer have a say in asking for it to be delayed? And is that because he's the one who put in the request for this change to the plan?
No, he didn't. We did it as part of the update process and consultation.
It's really being driven by us, not by him. Maybe I wasn't clear on
I
that.
just don't want anybody getting the impression that the council or City Hall is being pushed around by a developer on
No,
a tentative change.
no. This plan was put through our planning commission, and is being driven really by our Stone staff.
Thanks.
Question. Katie, regarding item number 6 for the September 5th agenda, would you please send out some information relative to that prior to that night? Also, on the tentative items, item number 7, if you would also include some information about that prior to it hitting the actual agenda, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, and we are right now scheduled for September 19th for the land transfer of Orchard Park. Amanda?
Number 7. Yes, right now I have it down for September 19th. We are working on the donation agreement routing right now, and then we actually needed a parcel number on the parcel. Somehow it didn't get through the assessor's system to give us a parcel number, so.
So once again, we'd like to get some information prior to finding out about it that night.
Okay, and then just go back to the council rules and procedure
Sure.
update. So that will go out the Wednesday before September 5th, and I don't know what day that is, but
The Wednesday,
It'd
we
be the
don't get
Wednesday
anything
before.
on Wednesday before.
excuse me, our deadline's Wednesday, it's Friday before.
Friday, yeah, that's not enough time.
That's not enough time?
Give us some, just give us some
Okay,
information. Okay, who brought it up, what it is for, and why, what does it concern?
so I can tell you right now what it concerns
That's okay.
addresses,
Okay,
people
We'll just
giving
do it
their
later.
addresses.
great.
Okay.
Doesn't sound too big of a deal. Thank you, ma'am.
Uh-huh,
So we're done now on that piece of the puzzle?
we are done.
Okay. Stan challenge? Where's Stan? Right there? This is public citizen comments, so, right? And you turned in your yellow slip, so.
Thank you. I'm Stan Chalich, been a resident of Liberty Lake in this area for the past 50-some years, 52, 53 years. I grew up in the valley. I came back here to teach at Centerville. I put in 49 years. Been involved in all kinds of civic activities, a number of committees and things like that. And I just want to announce so that people in Liberty Lake, you have a chance to have a voice in it. I declare my candidacy for Spokane Fire District Commissioner, position 1. I like competition, and that's good. Another individual's already has been on the board and that, and I think competition's good, and I want you to know that I have an open ear. I've learned that many years in coaching and all the things and various committees I've been on in the past. And anytime anybody has anything to contribute or ask me about anything, I take it very seriously. I follow things. I've taught constitutional law and every type of economics, everything, and I'm concerned about which way we're going, what's happening, and I heard about the growth of this entire area of Liberty Lake. That's a big concern. We're going to be able to take care of all the particular issues and concerns. And I just want to let you know that I'm running a candidate for that position. Appreciate any support or anybody. I'll be around, so I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Not hearing, we're adjourned.
So the council, all it has to do with people giving their address.